welcome to the voice of the youth, this country and beyond. Whilst the guests in the sound today, entrepreneurship and innovation help the youth of this are facing creative driving nation at large. Many young people seem not to be informed, not well prepared, or not empowered to take entrepreneurship and innovation to the next level. The most worrying part of it is that many young people have very creative ideas, but these ideas do not make it to the market because they face quite a number of challenges. We'll be delving into this to know the challenges the young people face, the steps they could take to sharpen their entrepreneurship skills, and the possible prospects available for these young people. For us to have an extensive discussion, I'll be joined with two guests in the studio and two via Zoom. And when I'll be going for a commercial break, and when I return, I will introduce my guests to you. But I would like to remind you that you are going to be part of the discussion. And to do that, you can call in any of the numbers 030-2234-087 or 030-2230-21. Or you can also send a WhatsApp message. If you have my personal number, you can send a WhatsApp message on 0242-548-796, and I will respond to your questions and contributions. Of course, my guests will also help me to respond to your contributions and your questions. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere. This is the voice of the youth, and I'm your host, Paa Quecy Adu. Going for a commercial break. When I return, the discussion continues.
All of this, quality sound and video, all of this, yeah. All of this, wherever we go, you find us so we can light up the place, yeah. All of this, quality sound and video, all of this, yeah. All of this, wherever we go, you find us so we can light up the place, yeah. We the best, no more stress, no you want, no better services, yeah. Quality sound and video, all of this, yeah. All of this, wherever we go, you find us so we can light up the place, yeah.
Do you need that quality video for your TV, your YouTube and Facebook page? Talk to us. Mido Studios, experts in TV shows, virtual concerts, e-learning videos, reality show auditions, preaching, live band recordings and radio commercials. Call now for your booking on 0302-234087 or 0502-651282. Mido Studios, affordable prices awaits you.
Art Music Solutions School, we teach all the instruments, the piano, the guitar and drums, the trumpets available. You can learn sound engineering, so come, for we with specific music needs. Art Music Solutions School, we teach all the instruments, the piano, the guitar and drums, the trumpets available. You can learn sound engineering, so come, for we with specific music needs.
Contact us on 0303-400-435.
Music Solutions School, meeting specific music needs.
Hello viewers, you are welcome back to the Voice of the Youth. As I mentioned earlier today, we're going to look at entrepreneurship and innovations, youth in focus. We want to see how young people are actively involved in entrepreneurship and how they come out with very creative ideas by innovative means. And we also want to see the challenges young people face as far as entrepreneurship and innovations are concerned, and the prospects available for them, funding for their entrepreneurship ideas and stuff. So we're going to have a very extensive discussion. And like as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have two guests who have already joined me in the studio and two other guests who are joining via Zoom. So viewers, just before I go to introduce my guests to you, I want to encourage you to share the link, please. I need you to share the link, invite someone, and subscribe to our channel, Mido TV on YouTube. And also invite your friends to be part of the discussion. Don't forget that you can call in by 030-2234-087 or 030-2233-021. You can also send me a WhatsApp message on 0242-548-796. And my guests and I will respond to all your questions and contributions. This is the voice of the youth. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I'm just introducing my guests to you. Hi, gentlemen.
Hi.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
By His grace. Fine.
Okay, so let me start with my immediate right. For those of you who follow Voice of the Youth, Fanuel is not a new face. So we have Fanuel Sally Gakweto, an exercise scientist and entrepreneur. Fanuel, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, how is your business doing?
By His grace.
Okay, as an entrepreneur, how is it like?
It's not an easy journey, but so far as your mind is made up, you sail through.
We'll go into it as we discuss the topic entrepreneurship and innovations. Mr. Sam Chris Hilton is a lecturer and a research consultant, also a financial analyst, and also a former SRC president of the University of Professional Studies, Accra. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Great.
It's a privilege to be on your program again.
Thank you. It's always an honor to have you online. Let me use this opportunity to wish you belated congratulations. Belated congratulations. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. So it's belated, but still congratulations. Thank you very much. So gentlemen, you are welcome to the show. And as I mentioned, we're going to look at entrepreneurship and innovations. Entrepreneurship and innovations. You are an entrepreneur, and you are an entrepreneur and also a lecturer in entrepreneurship and leadership. So, Fano, let me start with you. What's your basic explanation of entrepreneurship and innovation?
Okay, so in the simplest term, I would say entrepreneurship is identification of a problem, finding solution to it, and making a profit out of it or growth. On the other hand, innovation is about adding value to an already existing solution or the solution you have found to a problem,
okay,
to make it viable and then help you make profit or grow.
Okay.
So in the simplest term, that's how I explain it.
Okay. Thank you, Fanuel. So assuming someone who is not so much educated,
Okay.
and the person hears entrepreneurship, the person also hears innovation.
Okay.
And the person says, well, me, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm not an innovator. How do you define put the line between these two?
Okay, so entrepreneurship and innovation go hand in hand.
Okay.
To appreciate what innovation is for you to know the difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Mostly businessmen look at just making profits, finding something to sell, and then looking at the short term. While an entrepreneur is someone who, though wants to create value, is looking at taking the bigger risk and looking at the long-term benefits. So to be able to have these in mind and then benefit from this greater risk you are taking and then have this huge value you want to gain, you must be innovative. Being innovative is that, for instance, let's not go away from it. Everyone sells, let me say, wache.
Okay.
It's all over the place. But your idea or your zeal is also to sell wache.
Yeah.
How differently are you going to do it from the already existing ones? If you're able to come up with something different, adding a different value to what already exists, then we say you are being innovative. You are adding some kind of value which would not be maybe easily accepted. Like, for instance, I also put up one new joint and then I start selling like everyone is doing. People will buy. But if you add a different form of idea to it. Now, talking about wache, looking at the currently trending issue of someone selling wache in a jar, it had a lot of critics, and some people accepting it. That is a form of innovation. That is a different way of looking at how do I package what is already existing for a group of people to accept it.
Okay, thank you very much, Fanuel. Chris, what's your take on that, entrepreneurship and innovation?
Well, I think that I agree with my co-panelists to some extent, except to add that when you talk
can you speak up so that we can hear you, please?
Except to add that when you're talking about entrepreneurship, of course, in our today's setting, it's about owning a business. But it goes beyond just a matter of owning the business. I think one of the key things that describe or identify an entrepreneur is the innovation aspect of the business. As he explained, somebody is already doing such a business. You think that there should be some value addition. There should be a way of branding or going about it such that it will give much more profit or benefit to society, and you decided to go into that same area and add the new way of doing things that is not noted or is not, famously done, then you now become or be described to be an entrepreneur. So when you talk about someone, an entrepreneur, ideally, it should be somebody who is an innovator. You should be able to find a new way of doing something that we know that is in existence. Fine. You may bring out a new thing. That's why entrepreneurs can buy an existing company, but then change the status quo of the company. So it does not mean that an entrepreneur is somebody who starts up fresh business per se, but it can be existing one, but your ability to innovate and also go commercial with that business is what describe you to be somebody who is an entrepreneur or is into entrepreneurship. Ideally, that should be what we should be talking about, not just a mere owning a business. In academic literature, we describe you to be maybe a small business holder. Nothing more than, once we don't see the innovation aspect of what you are doing. Mind you, when it was defining entrepreneurship, which I agree with you entirely, is that you identify a problem and solve the problem with the aim of making profit. It goes beyond the economic definition of saying putting all factors of production together for the purpose of making profit. So when you identify the problem, you then ask yourself, who can I use to solve the problem? That's a human resource. What do I need to solve the problem? I need capital resource. And where am I going to be? Is it we're talking about the building, you are going to the plant and all that. So then you have to harness the resources to solve that problem with the motive of making profit. So that is in simple terms how I love his definition of entrepreneurship. So you would then have to add that the person must be an innovator to make it complete. Okay.
So I recall doing some Galamsey teaching at UPAC. I was teaching entrepreneurship, and then a student asked a question about social entrepreneurship. And I love the question because of the parameters that we use to teach entrepreneurship. So we'll come back to that anyway, but I have also been joined by one of my guests via Zoom, who is Dr. Quecy. So let me just, Dr. Quecy Adu Opare, you are welcome to Voice of the Youth. Okay, Dr. Quecy Adu is a lecturer at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, specifically at the Department of Telecommunication Engineering within the Faculty of Electrical and Computer Engineering of the College of Engineering, KNUST. You can see how long it is. He's a member of the Ghana Institute of Engineering, and he is an examination officer and the chairman for Innovations and Exhibitions Committee, College of Engineering, KNUST. He is a lead Huawei ICT Academy, KNUST. He holds a BSc in Electrical and Electronic Engineering, KNUST, MSc Telecommunication Engineering, KNUST, and a PhD in Information and Communication Engineering, University of Electronic Science and Technology of China. So that is a brief profile of Dr. Quecy Adu Opare. Doc, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And how is KNUST, specifically your department?
KNUST is doing well. Because of COVID, our students are currently at home. But then we just finished with our online teaching and assessment.
Okay,
so basically, K University is doing well.
Okay, so let me pick it from there. How is it like? How is it like teaching your students online instead of the traditional way?
Oh. Let me say, well, it's, previously we were not using the online mode of teaching, or let me say we're not using it so much.
Okay.
If I may put it that way, and you also realize that we have some aging lecturers in our midst who are not so much into technology.
Okay.
And so initially it was a challenge. But then as a university, we've decided to train our lecturers in these technologies so that as the new crop of students come, we'll be able to, effectively teach them using this new mode of teaching and assessment.
Okay, on that tangent, and also as someone who has been actively involved in innovations, what is the state of innovation among young people?
Yes, I must say that. Well, let me use my area as an example: information and communications technology. And I realized that is one area that our to be specific, our students are very passionate about.
Okay.
Because it's an exciting area, and you also notice that there are a lot of resources available for the individual to be able to, train himself along that line. You realize that many of our students and those I come into contact with are looking at innovation in that direction. But then, apart from my area, I also realized that students, or generally the youth, are interested in agriculture. That's also one area that I've seen.
Okay.
Previously, it used to be something that was left to those in the rural areas, our aging parents and grandparents. But I noticed that by and large, more youth are going into that area at the moment.
Wow, so I will come back to you, but let me just introduce the other guest who has also joined us via Zoom. So viewers, we have also online one of our guests who has joined via Zoom. I have there Mr. Patrick Finn, who is a former student activist and a youth activist, of course, and a founder of Stand Out Care. Hello, Patrick. How are you doing?
Hello, Mr. PK. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Yeah. I hope you are doing well.
By God's grace, we are good.
Okay. How is Stand Out Care doing?
Yes, we are surviving, even though things have been different because of the pandemic. But I mean, we are good.
What exactly do you do at Stand Out Care?
So, at Stand Out Care, we are essentially a social enterprise.
Okay.
With special interest in community health. So what we do is that we take the clinic, which is not accessible in deprived communities or destitute populations. We take the clinic to those people. So you see us organizing community medical outreaches, home care programs, and then every project that is community-based in terms of health, we are there.
Mr. Patrick Finn, I have observed you. I have known you for at least not less than 5 years. And I've observed and followed your activities regarding entrepreneurship. To what extent do you think the youth are deeply involved in entrepreneurship? And what do you think, okay, let me take it from that point of to what extent are the youth deeply involved in entrepreneurship?
I think that we are becoming more interested in business nowadays. Like the last speaker mentioned, in previous times, you find the white-collar jobs being the only place of interest to young people. But nowadays, you see university graduates, you see degree holders wanting to venture into business or commerce or even entrepreneurship. So it is becoming a more interesting place, a more place where people want to find themselves now. So times have changed. People have come to understand that you can make money or you can be rich only when you have a multiple stream of income. So entrepreneurship is becoming the go-to place now for young persons.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Finn. Please be online. I'll get back to you and Dr. Quecy Adu. But let me come back to you, my guest in the studio. As young people who are aspiring to become great entrepreneurs, we have looked at what entrepreneurship and as young people who are aspiring to become great entrepreneurs, what do you suggest to be the steps they should take? One, regarding developing of ideas, and two, transforming these ideas into a business. What steps? I want to be an entrepreneur. How do I develop these ideas? So let me start with you. Finally, I'll come back to Chris.
Okay, so I would share 5 steps, which together I put I call the design process steps. Okay. This is the step that I think is the current trend to developing an idea. Okay. And the very first one is identification of problem. Okay. What is the problem? What have you identified in your society, in the country, in your locality? What problem have you identified? Then after the identification of the problem, you go through the building stage, the idea building stage. This is the problem. What can we do to solve it? What solution can be given it to it? So you identify a whole lot of solutions to one problem. Then the ideation stage of it, developing the very best solution out of the pool to see which one fits. It might not be the well-fitting one, but at least among them, or you should be able to identify and say, okay, this solution fits to this problem. Then you come to the next one, what we call the prototyping. Okay. You test your idea. What the solution you've agreed on. You test it to see how viable is it on the market, how are the target market accepting whatever solution you are bringing to solve their problem. Then from there, you come to look at restructuring it, because through the prototype stage, you identify some defects, some challenges, what the people are really calling for. So it's like it's a circle. And entrepreneurship doesn't have an end to solution. You start today, throughout all this process, it goes and come back to square one, even if you want to scale. So these are the processes young ones should go through in developing an idea. You can't just stand up and say, okay, I want to do ABC. There should be a reason why you want to do ABC.
So, okay, so I'll come back to you, Dr. Fanuel, but Chris, just before you pick your take on these, viewers, you are still following us on Voice of the Youth on this very platform. This program is brought to you by Mido Productions. Please share the link, subscribe to our channel, invite someone to follow us, and make your comments. You can send a WhatsApp message also on 0242548796. You can call in by 030-2233-021, and we'll respond to your questions and contributions. Chris, Fanuel had outlined some of the steps that you need to take in developing your ideas. How do you transform these ideas into reality?
All right, so I would say that in the transformation of these ideas to reality will depend on how...
Can you speak up a little?
The transformation of the ideas into reality will depend on how feasible the ideas are. Okay. You know, there are youth, sometimes you think about doing something and then you have a fine idea, you think about it, and you get stuck on the way. You just abandon it. You begin to look for another idea. But recently, I published a paper on the locus of control and entrepreneurial intentions. Okay. It turns out that the youth, go into entrepreneurship not because of their, most of them are influenced by the external locus of control, things that happens in the environment. What that means is that if you want to be a good entrepreneur, like he said, you have to pay attention to your environment as you go about and see what are the loopholes of even of existing opportunity that you think can be enhanced. Once you know that the idea you have is feasible enough, that will, what you call a stand test of time, or you can try it your hands on, what you need to do in order to let it come to reality is to find ways, how can I implement this idea? You have to be thinking about the resources. And here we are talking about the capital resources in terms of finance, in terms of the human resources. Do I have the expertise to do this idea? Necessarily, you may not be the one who can champion that idea. You need to put the right people as a team to be able to achieve that. So the mere fact that you have the idea does not mean that necessarily you should be the one that should be able to do what you think of doing. Okay. It should be that you ask yourself, can I do this? If I cannot do it, do I know a friend or do I know some people I can engage to do that? If I'm going to engage, how much is it going to cost me?
Okay.
Do I have the facility? Can I start somewhere by way of even going into a bit of partnership? Or where exactly can I pick up from? I'm sure, as I said, once you go through the various stages and you do your assessment, you should, one of the critical things that every young man must pay attention to is financing your entrepreneurial dream.
Okay.
And so on campus, I need to tell students that right from level 100, start saving for whatever reason, start saving. Because if you graduate and you have an entrepreneurial idea, you have to finance it.
Okay.
Let nobody deceive you. One of the blockade of the reality, bringing your entrepreneurial dream to reality, is capital. And the capital in
which is one of the
forms,
challenges we're going to look at. Okay.
And sometimes too, in terms of social capital, people are in school, you think you have to learn, or you never socialize, you never come into contact with people, you never network. And so when it comes to bringing that idea into reality,
Chris, we'll be going to that. You are already giving answers to the questions I'm going to ask you here. So viewers, that has been Chris Hilton. So I'll be going for a commercial break. My guest in the studio, my guest on Zoom, please. I'll be going for a commercial break. Stay online. When we come back, the discussion continues. Viewers, stay tuned. This is the voice of the youth. Hello viewers, you are welcome back to the Voice of the Youth. So far we have been discussing entrepreneurship and innovations, youth in focus. And I mentioned that you are going to be part of the discussion, so you can call in via the numbers announced earlier, and you can also send a WhatsApp message. In case you've just joined us, this is the Voice of the Youth, and we are discussing entrepreneurship and innovations, youth in focus. The numbers to call in are 030-2234-087 or 030-2233-021. You can also send a WhatsApp message on 0242-548-796. So let me get back to you, Dr. Opare. Dr. Quecy Adu Opare, a lecturer of KNUSC. Doctor, are you there?
Yes, I'm around.
Okay. So I want to ask that in innovative ideas or in implementing innovative ideas, how has network been positively impactful in such areas? What role does networking play in ensuring that people can implement their innovative ideas or entrepreneurship ideas?
Okay. Yes. First of all, let me start by saying that ideas don't happen by chance.
Okay.
And it's only in a few cases. The only one I know in history is the discovery of penicillin,
okay,
which came about by chance. But then generally, ideas don't just happen by chance. And one of the...
If I may preempt, how did it happen by chance?
Well, I understand that one scientist was working in a lab, and then he discovered that the microbes that he was working with were dying. And then he realized that it's because they came into contact with penicillin. So he realized that, okay, then if we use penicillin, we will be able to deal with such microbes. So he discovered it by chance. He wasn't actually looking for it.
Thank you for educating us. Okay.
So, and as one of the panelists said, another way of generating idea is to identify a problem. So when you identify the problem, then you actively seek solutions for that particular problem. Okay. But then aside that, there are other ways to generate ideas. You can pick an already existing idea which is being used in one area and then take it into another domain, and you realize that it will be viable also in that particular area. and also bringing different ideas together to form one component. So this is where I will bring in the issue of social capital.
Okay.
So you realize that as individuals, or let me say, we don't have ideas existing in an individual brain. So with social capital, with your network, you realize that you can have different people with different ideas, and then when you brainstorm, when you come together and brainstorm, you realize that picking different ideas from here and there, you can put them together to come out with something new. That is what we refer to as synergy. Something that individually you wouldn't have been able to come out with. But then by coming together, you realize that something new has come out of the different ideas that you brought up.
Okay,
And,
okay. Yeah, run up, please.
Okay, so let me round up. This is an example, a personal example. In a personal example, I realized that a mate that I completed school with did his PhD, and he worked in his area is chemical engineering.
Okay.
And this guy, out of his research, he realized that there is something that he can use to help Ghanaian farmers. So he contacted me, and then we started working on it. With this example, you realize that with the kind of association or with the friendship that I had with him, when he went out there and then he discovered this idea and he wanted someone in Ghana to help him with, he was able to fall on me.
Okay.
If there was no relationship between the two of us, probably he would have contacted someone else for that thing to be done, or something else. So it is very important. Relationships are very important.
So in effect, social capital is one of the vehicles that can drive innovative ideas. Thank you very much, Dr. Opare. Please, let me get back to you. Patrick Finn, please, are you still with us?
I'm here live in Khaled.
Okay, Patrick. I will be going into the prospects, but let's look at what are some of the main challenges youth face in entrepreneurship. Because a number of people say that, for me, I don't want to be an entrepreneur because the challenges out there are just so much. I don't have money. Is it all about money? Let's look at the cogent challenges that are faced as far as entrepreneurship is concerned.
So when it comes to the hurdles in running a business, I think that the commonest or the obvious one is finances, but it's not really the biggest deal. For me, I think that the biggest challenge with entrepreneurship is reality or the absence of it. Now,
what do you mean by reality or the absence of it?
Yes. Now you see people venture a certain business. They do it. They enter with different expectations. They enter with not understanding the intricacies of the business. They think that if they enter within the first 2 months, they must become rich, a millionaire out of it. Or they think that when they enter, it is so rosy, it is without hurdles. So after 1 month or a few weeks, you see them backing out. The challenge is that we need to let people understand what really entrepreneurship entails. You should understand the psychology of it. You should understand that it's a difficult, extremely devastating place to be. We need to psych young entrepreneurs to understand that where they are venturing is going to be difficult. They need to be prepared for the battle ahead. But
Mr. Patrick, just before you move on, don't you think that psyching young people to see entrepreneurship as a venture that is very difficult could be a possible way of discouraging them? What do you think about that?
But it will be the sincerity. It will be that thing that will make them ready and braced for impact. If we do not tell what they are to expect and they venture and they are not ready for it, they will back out. And you see a lot of young people start businesses. They put their artworks out, they create social media pages. But ask yourself, how many of them continue to thrive? Because they did not receive the right mentorship, they did not get the right information, they did not get the right mindset. They were not prepared enough to start it. Until I started my own business, I thought that once you have an idea, you are good to go. But PK, you agree with me that if it was all about ideas, everybody would be a businessman.
Yeah.
But it's extremely difficult. We need those who have made it to hold our hands. We need a system to make things easier for us so that we can thrive.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Finn. Chris, what's your take on what are some of the challenges in entrepreneurship?
So I think that for me, I would like to mention
because I'm not asking you just because you taught entrepreneurship.
Yes,
because I know you are an entrepreneur yourself.
Yes.
So your experience.
So aside the financing mentioned of, and I will put it in terms of normally describe them to be risks.
Okay.
We normally describe the challenges to be risk, because once I tell you that it's a difficult venture, as you said, the person will be scared to go in.
Yeah.
But you tell that these are the side effects. However, we can have remedies. So this risk can be psychic.
What kind of level? So at least we're taught in class or we're taught in school that there are 3 main levels of risk: a low risk, a medium risk, and a high risk. Which of these can we place entrepreneurship?
You see, I want to put them all together.
Okay.
Because if you are talking at low level, high, whatever, maybe you want to look at it from the introduction stage of the business, maybe when the business is growing, and then maybe you are not mature. So the risk comes.
So the growth cycle.
But then, yes, but then the risk is associated with it. The risk I'm about talking about across board, whether level, because one, if you have a financial risk, it means that you are going to suffer severely from psychic. One of the reasons why people don't want to go into entrepreneurship is the depression that comes with it, the pressure. The fact that you lost your money, the fact that things are not going as you want, that people just don't want like pressure. The fact that, oh, maybe you owe somebody or somebody owe you, and they're going after the person, it creates a psychological problem for them, and they are not really interested in that. They don't have the emotions to understand, to withstand that, so they won't go there. Then again, you have social risk. For you to become an entrepreneur, you have to cut down certain relationship, mandatorily. You don't have an option. You see, your social life becomes restricted. You wake up early in the morning, you are thinking about your business. You are on your way back home, you are thinking about your business. How are you going to turn around the fortune of this business? Because innovative ideas don't come by way of laughing. It talks about, it requires brainstorming.
Okay.
And so you, at every point in time, your social life becomes restricted. Even sometimes people even look at family risk. How you even be able to keep your family, because all the time you keep thinking about your business and business. That's why people think that businessmen don't really have time for their children. And that is one of the risks, and you ought to balance it. And as a result, somebody will say, no, I want to have time for my family, just let me work for somebody, I take my monthly salary and fine. So family risk, social risk, and psychic risk, and financial risk they mentioned are some of the key things that actually deter people from going to entrepreneurship. And again, to one of the things that prevent people going is lack of determination and aggression. Entrepreneurship does not happen by way of just us having the idea. Even if you have the idea and you implement, you need to be aggressive and you need to be determined. If you decided that you put your hand into it and it's hot and you move your hand, you can never get it. You need to put your hand in it even though it's hot. You know that at the end of the day, just about a few minutes later, it will get cool. And you have to put that determination behind that idea you are implementing. There must be 100% determination. Come what may, you must actually sail through. And so you will understand people who are more or less choleric, if we want to go deeper to look at people with certain internal locus of control characteristics that makes them to be entrepreneurs, are those with the innate, aggression.
The innate aggression.
They always want to strive to do it, no matter how difficult and hard it is. So you just take 10 entrepreneurs you know of and assess their personality trait. You get to know that these are people that they are do or die affair people.
Okay, now
and these are some of the things that if you don't have that kind of qualities in you, or you don't learn to become such a person, you find it difficult to get your entrepreneurship dream materialized. Material in the sense that you implement and successful, and you begin to spring out for others to also benefit from it.
Chris, you know something? You see, you talk about the risk. Now let's put the entrepreneurship as on the scale of the PLC, the product life cycle. Now, at what stage? So I'm asking the two of you. At what stage do young entrepreneurs face the most riskier risk? Is he at the development stage? Is he at the growth stage? At what stage? So that as a young person who wants to be an entrepreneurship, I want to know which are the levels that I will find the most difficult risk. But I will come to you. Please hold your thoughts. I will come to you. Fano, I will come to you also anyway. But let me just pick the thought of Dr. Quecy Adu Opare. Dr. Quecy Adu Opare, looking at entrepreneurship, taking it like a product, so placing it on the product life cycle. Young people who want to engage in such venture, at what stage of it do they face the most difficult of these challenges?
Okay. This is quite a difficult question to answer, but then let me go about it this way.
Okay.
First of all, to even begin an entrepreneurial venture, the person should have the skills and then the exposure. That is how I look at it. The skills in the sense that whatever he's going into, he should have the knowledge to be able to pursue any venture in that area. And then the other aspect is the exposure. Exposure in the sense that somebody may have some skills, but then he's not exposed enough to know the kind of people who need those skills.
Okay.
So the skills and then the exposure are very key in beginning any entrepreneurial venture. Okay, so let's say somebody has begun this venture. As some of our colleagues have mentioned, some of the risks involved. You realize that to dive into entrepreneurship, this person is sacrificing his time, his resources to ensure that at the end of the day, he comes out with something that will give him profit. Okay. Now, so the risk, the initial risk that this person bears at the initial stages would be the fact that this person would have to sacrifice something which he may have very little of, or he may have none at all in terms of capital and other things. Now, as this person starts and this person also grows, or as the business grows, there will be a lot of demands. Now the product is out there, the business is out there, the brand is out there, and people have been exposed to it. Now, after they have become exposed, or after they've been exposed to the product, now the problems that people...
Okay, so I think we've lost Dr. Edugwahin Opare. So let me come back to you. I asked this question so that we could... Okay, but I will not speak for you. Let me start with you, Fanuel. At what level do these challenges or risks come?
So throughout the 3 stages you mentioned, the development, the growing, and scaling up, there are challenges across all.
Okay.
But where I think you face most challenge is the development stage.
Okay, why?
Why? Because at this stage 1, you need to build a team.
Okay.
Aside capital, one of the biggest challenge again for every young entrepreneur is building the right team.
Okay.
The moment you don't get your team right, you should know your idea is on the verge of dying. Okay. Because the team is what holds the idea and brings it to that level of you wanting to scale, develop, become big, or what have you.
Okay.
Let me just use an example with one of our celebrated entrepreneurs. We talk about Steve Jobs.
So to me, if you ask me, I will say that is the riskier.
So
aspect.
Steve Jobs being someone who had the idea to start Apple didn't start on his alone. He had a team. To the extent I got to a time where the team has to lay him off, the vision holder.
Okay.
So it's all about the team.
Okay.
As if the team is not right, you are not going. Now, one thing Doc spoke about is exposure and experience. Some people have the idea, they're able to put some team together. But if the team again doesn't have that exposure and that know-how, especially with issues like cash flow management, which is one of the things that have killed a lot of businesses in our setting. Most businesses are not able to thrive beyond the 3rd year because they are not able to manage their cash flow well. So a young man having an idea, having a group of people around him, wants to start a business, but they don't even know what cash flow is. They are into business. Within the very 2nd year, the business is dying because people think it's all about building a brand name, let it be out there, let people know, let's put the product together and then they would buy. But it goes beyond that.
It goes beyond that. Yeah. Chris?
So for me, straightforward, as he said, at maybe his developed stage is where I would call the inception stage, right?
Okay.
The introduction stage of the business. That is where I think the most difficult, and not that I think, but research has shown that that's a difficult stage of every entrepreneurial life. And as he has said, or we've all said, having the idea does not mean that you're an entrepreneur.
Okay.
You get a point. And so I define entrepreneurs as leaders, because when you study deeply, you get to know that every entrepreneur is supposed to be a leader. And then the leader is the one who has the ability to harness the required resources to achieve the objective of the organization. So in this case, as we talk about the team, at the introduction stage, you just call somebody to come and work for you. You don't know the person from anywhere. And that's the point where you have put all your life saving into that business. The risk is that you can't even tell whether you're going to make profit. All the profit you are saying are just on paper because you did a business plan and you make a projections. And so it's difficult for you to tell. You have not done the thing before. That's the first time you're coming into it, even if you have experience from somewhere. This is the first time as a business you are going to it. So you are not certain. And at that time, if you used to leave the house 8, you have to leave the house 7. So you see, you have sacrificed family out of the game. And so that's the stage that you face so many risks in restructuring the business, structuring the business to be on the path. Assume you even bought somebody's business. Let's say all our discussion about starting a new business.
Okay.
I assume you took someone's business.
Yeah.
The principles of leadership is that you fire the CEO. It's a new company you bought.
Yeah.
You fire the CEO. You now have to do entire restructuring of the workers. See those who are useful to the organization, train them, come in with extra brainstorming to know which one will fit and who are those who did not. It could be said backbiting and some other corrupt activities. How can you single those people out to ensure that you get the right man? Because you are thinking that they have experience in moving the business. So at the time you pick up the business, whether it's a fresh business or it's a takeover business, the challenge lies in putting the business on the right track that will grow in perpetuity such that you don't encounter the problem it's going through. And so that is the biggest stage. By the time you're growing, you begin to see the ups and downs, how to correct them when they come. By the time you get to maturity stage, you have a risk, but those risks are going to be calculated risks. You know them, you are used to them. When you are growing, you know how to go. You are likely to minimize them. By the growth stage, you cannot predict most of the risk.
Okay.
And that is where it's difficult, and you don't want to cross that hurdles. So the Zoom, I think Patrick made the point that you are scared because you don't want to cross that risk. Once you enter, you begin to make loss because you thought that it's rosary. Once you enter, you should make money. But it's not the case. So you need to spend much time to build a brand and let the business go without thinking of profit, because ideally you can't make the profit.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris. I know if I give Chris 10 hours, he will keep talking. He will keep talking. But Doctor, it's good to have you back online. Thank you for logging in. And you were making a submission that you couldn't finish. So I would like you to. Can you lift up your camera a little so that I just hit a little? Yes. Now I'm seeing Dr. Quecy Adu Opare. First, the Opare was hiding, but now as you come fully, I can see you fully. Okay, so can you run up your thoughts on what you were saying?
Okay, yeah, so as I was saying, your product is out there and your brand is also out there and everyone knows about it. It is at a point that you can't fail.
Okay.
You can't fail. And so because if you fail, the repercussions are higher.
Wow. What are some of the repercussions?
And everything.
Okay.
Yes.
Psychic.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. So that is it. So
Okay.
that was my submission.
Okay, Doctor, I will take this one right from you before I get to Patrick. So, Chris and Fanuel subjected that the development stage is the most critical part that many entrepreneurs are vulnerable as far as risk is concerned. Now,
Yes.
in their submission, they mentioned the essence of building a team that you will need to work with. What is the risk level of idea theft in the attempt of building a team? So I will start from you, Doc, and I will pick Patrick.
This is your question.
Because I'm building a team. Because I have to be very honest with you that I have had that experience where my ideas have been stolen, not once, not twice. I can recall 4 ideas that have been stolen. I think I've shared some with you before, Chris. I've had 4 ideas that have been stolen, and I see some of these ideas making waves at the national level, at the national platform. They are painful situations I've had. So I want to find out that in your attempt of developing a team,
Yes.
what is the risk involved in relating to idea theft? I see Patrick laughing. Maybe he has an experience about that. So let me take your case. Okay, Doc, I want to give you the chance to brief a little. So let me pick that of Patrick, and I'll come back to you, Doc. Okay, Patrick, what's your take on that?
I don't think it should be a problem. Leadership makes the difference between the one who owns the idea, the one who has stolen it, and the one who can do better with it.
Okay.
I think that that is what we say value addition, or the magic effect. It doesn't matter if 4 people wants to do the same thing. At the end of the day, one person will stand out. I mean, today we have Uber, we have Bolt, we have Taxify, we have 1,000 others, but 1 or 2 others are standing out. If it's about telco, it's a few people who are making it. If it's about food, a few people are making it. I think that even though your idea may have been stolen, you can still make a difference. You can still have a value addition to it that will differentiate you from the idea stealer.
Okay, so, you know what, Patrick, let me put it this way. So, I was playing the devil's advocate. Let me play the devil's advocate. No. So, you have an idea to identify, to have an idea to deal with a particular challenge. Now, you don't have the resources to deal with it. And when I say resources, I'm going beyond financial resources. And someone you share the idea with, I shared the idea with fun before I realized someone who has all the resources, the social capital and stuff, is running the idea. I'm asking this so that our colleagues or viewers out there who may not have the necessary expertise to implement these ideas, how careful should they be regarding idea theft? So
I think for the purpose of team building, it will be difficult to hide your idea or to prevent the other from having the full complement of idea, because for your team to execute their plans very well, they need to be to immerse totally with what your idea is. So where you want to deny them for the sake of stealing, you may be doing yourself disservice, assuming they were in for good. You may simply sign a non-compete with them for the sake of securing your idea. Okay,
I think I've gotten one of the answers I wanted: openness in sharing your ideas. So, Doctor, what's your take on that?
Yes, so I think this is one of the reasons why many Ghanaians don't want to go into partnerships, especially when it comes to this area. But then I think that in any venture, once you are bringing others on board, it's a kind of relationship you are building. Whatever team you are building, it's a kind of relationship you are building. Now, before you bring anybody on board, I believe that this person should have been tried and tested. Okay. You don't, it's because whatever relationship, it can be marriage, it can be anything. You can't go into any long-term relationship with anyone if you don't know the person very well. And I believe that this also applies in this aspect. But then, whatever it is, sometimes you may know the person very well, but then these things can also happen. But then I believe that you can minimize the risk if you take your time to really know the person before you go into that kind of team building with that person.
Okay, thank you. I know Chris and Fano are itching.
Just a quick
30 seconds.
Yes, 30 seconds.
30 seconds, I mean 30 seconds.
I think that the idea share, in order to avoid the theft.
The idea theft,
Yes, what you have to do is to share the ideas at the serve with the right person. At times, you may not necessarily need to share with the person you intend to engage. You may share the ideas with a consultant in order to advise you of your former lecturer like it is and all that, and be sure that they are going to guide you the right path. It's a global challenge that you share idea with somebody, the person pick it up. But be sure that the way you're going to share the ideas, you have a high level of trust
and confidence
in the person. And then you also do not share the ideas, giving them the code. Because you see, I am telling you that we are going to do this, but the code to do that, it should be with you. That differentiate between you and the follower. But if you give the person the code, then ideally, you are not actually bringing the person as a team member. You are actually bringing the person as a co-idea owner. And that will destroy you. Because once you get the code, it's gone.
Anytime I give you an inch, you take it as
Let me add to it. So still building on the Chris, what Chris just said. Is one thing that is now universal, what people are looking at is, if you really want to build an idea, then you should have a barrier to entry.
Okay, so you not go further, have a barrier to it. Gentlemen, let's look at this. We have outlined that there are challenges regarding entrepreneurship and innovations. Are there prospects? What should a young person do to have a clearer understanding about the creation of his ideas and scaling up such ideas into business? And what environments are needed for effective entrepreneurship and innovations? So I will start with you, Chris, Fanuel, I will get to Doctor and then Patrick online.
Yeah, so first
you
of
have
all,
60 seconds.
Yeah, so first of all, I talk about the being aggressive and determination of your idea. That will be your internal control.
Okay.
Locus of control.
Sorry, change of mind, 45 seconds.
Okay, so your internal locus of control. Okay. Be a master of your idea and be consistent, be focused. You'll be able to get there.
Okay.
But then, of course, when you talk about the external, we are looking at even ease of doing business, which could be a role that is being played by government and all that. There are certain factors that may be beyond you as an individual. But we're saying that Doc said that look for environment or a market for your idea. You have to search for that market for idea. If it cannot work in a particular industry, does not mean that it is not an idea that cannot be implemented. If you have an idea from the telcos industry, you may take it to another industry if it could work, and then do market feasibility study and let it work, and then you'll be able to do that. All about gaining knowledge about it, and he's talking about exposure in the sense that you have to read wide about the idea and see how best you can implement that idea without failing. Vis-a-vis coming up with a plan, a detailed plan that will guide you. I'm sure that when you have that, one of the weakest points of most Ghanaian youth entrepreneurs is that they have the idea, but they don't set a plan of achieving that idea. Okay. But the business plan will be able to bring out all the challenges in the market, all the risk, and then you'll be able to put in measures to address the risk. You can seek a consultant or go to your lecturers. Let someone who is already in the field coach you, those that you trust anyway.
As role models. Thank you very much, Chris. Fanuel.
So talking about the prospects of going into entrepreneurship, yes, as a developing country, that should even be one of the hope for every young man, because we are now developing, we are not there yet. So meaning there are a lot of problems that need solutions. So it's time for us to start looking at what's the problem in the nation around us, and then we start looking at solutions for them. Just like Chris said, we should read more. Now, even building a business plan has been made very simple, where you can use the lean model canvas to build. You don't have to write voluminous, as years back you have to write pages of business plan. And the lean model canvas is one that challenges every young entrepreneur to be able to put up a good plan, where you know where your revenue model is, you know what is going into this aspect of my business, your problem and your solution are all there, your competitive advantage is also on there. So when you pick it up, you know where I stand in the market and where I don't stand. So it's about reading, consulting, just as he said, and then we looking around us and we can identify a whole chunk of problems. Then we look around our friends who we trust, which of them can we bring on board. Young men and women have to come together and start putting their ideas and strength together. You have friends who did economics, what have you. They all have this expertise. Are you looking at it that everyone has to go his way? Or you can bring them together, bring your expertise on board, I bring my, we all chat apart.
Okay, thank you very much. Because you were seated by Chris, you are always going beyond the 45 seconds anyway. So let me take let me pick your take, Patrick.
Yeah, because my final words.
Yes, and you conclude for me, please.
Entrepreneurs need to have a crash plan.
Okay.
A plan for when the boat subsides, or when things are very difficult, when things become frustrating. What will I do? What will be my plan B? All the time we go in with only plan A, expecting that to become all successful. But when the sales do not come in, when your customers begin to go away, when your staff even run away, what are you going to do? When we have those plans in play, we always make it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Patrick Finn, for joining us. Let me take your concluding remarks, Dr. Quecy Adu.
Okay, let me conclude by saying that this is what I'll use what Teresa Amabel, a certain researcher, said. He mentioned 4 areas when it comes to creativity and innovation. First of all, the domain relevant skills, what I talked about, the skills, and then creating or creativity relevant processes, bringing yourself or bringing others together to come out with creative ideas or innovative ideas, which we mentioned previously. And then some of our panelists have also mentioned another aspect, talking about being intrinsically motivated as an entrepreneur, because you are going to face challenges. If you've not developed yourself to the point where you are intrinsically motivated, there are times when you will be discouraged and you will stop. And then the fourth point is the social environment. You should look at the social environment. You should understand the setting to know when to launch a certain product and when not to launch. So to summarize, these are the 4 things that entrepreneurs should look at.
Thank you very much. That was Dr. Quecy Adu Opare. Thank you. So, viewers, we have had an extensive discussion. One may argue that we may need more than just an hour to have a conclusive discussion on this topic, innovation, entrepreneurship and innovation. But so far, we have looked at ideas, development stages that you have to go through to transform your ideas into a real business, as Fanuel and Chris helped us to look at. And Chris also added that there is a need for you to identify that there are risks associated to these steps or these levels of entrepreneurship, and you must be sure that you take the right steps and get the right people, the right resources that will help you to develop or transform your ideas into reality as an entrepreneur or as innovator. And then I recall Doctor also talk about some of the challenges that one need to identify and the essence of finding the right team to work with, which he agrees with others. He also talked about the creative relevance processes that young people need to consider as far as entrepreneurship and innovations are concerned. And Patrick Finn also mentioned the essence of letting young people who are into entrepreneurship know the reality, because people come into entrepreneurship with some ulterior minds or some kind of superstitious mind that, oh, this is going to be wow, full of money. But hey, he said, forget about the profit at the initial stage. Get it done. With time, the profit and other benefits will come. And then he also mentioned that there is a need for us to go into it with good intent. These are some of the views that my guest had shared with us, and you followed as well. So I want to say thank you very much, my guests in the studio. I know I would have given you the chance to say something brief, but okay, 5 seconds each. 5 seconds, concluding. 5 seconds, I mean 5 seconds. I'm starting with Chris so that I can stop you. 5 seconds, start.
Thank you for having me.
Chris said thank you for having me. Fanuel?
Okay, my 5 seconds is to say hi to Patrick Finn. It's been a while we met. So
okay, this is all products of NASAC. Okay, so thank you very much, my viewers and followers. You have also made the discussion very exciting. I want to say thank you to the crew led by the director Dominic Ansansari, Abel, Mr. Sante, Edmond, Pate, Maxwell, Abigail, and Jeff. I want to say thank you very much. And I also want to announce that on this same platform on Wednesdays, we come to you with a program, Chewadwin, hosted by Nature, and it comes to you on Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. And then on Thursdays, you are hosted by DJ Humble on Throwback Thursday Bash from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Thursdays. I want to also announce that if you want to rent any of the studios at Mido Productions for a talk show, for a TV program, whatever it is that you need our studios for, you are always welcome to come over and discuss that with us. Anything sound, audio, or video is produced and provided for you by Mido Productions. This has been the voice of the youth. And I want to also say thank you to Chris Sam Hilton for joining. I appreciate you. Chris is a lecturer and a former assistant president of UPSA and a research consultant. And Fanuel is an exercise scientist and an entrepreneur. Chris is also an entrepreneur. And we were also joined by Dr. Quecy Adu Opare, who is a lecturer at KNUST, and Patrick Finn, founder Stand Out Care. And to me, and for me, I'm your guest, Paa Quecy Adu, and to you out there, just remember that COVID real. Oh, sorry. You see, you are my host, but I want to say I'm your host. I'm your host to the program Voice of the Youth. My name is Paa Quecy Adu. This program comes to you every Monday. I'll see you next week, Monday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. Until then, stay safe. God bless you.